your character, Catherine Hastings, is the CEO of Payne Motors in Detroit, like I said.
Yeah.
Doesn't know anything about cars. Doesn't have a car background.
No, doesn't drive.
Doesn't drive, yes, how true to real life is that? What is your relationship with cars?
It's pretty urban, I would say. I grew up in the city. I find it to be a completely functional phenomenon.
What was your approach as a comedian, as a satirist, like taking on a female CEO, a she-EO, if you will, who is morally great, I should say, like coming out of this world of like girl boss, lean in, like it's awesome women are at the top, and it's like, man, women at the top can be. Yeah,
it's funny that you just nailed it, actually, and it's been, I wish that I had had this interview when I started this process, because I think it's not, I mean, her gender matters in the sense that there are things that I think, again, she's navigating probably in terms of bias and things like that. I mean, there are, 8% of Fortune 500 companies are led by women still. It's a really low number. But, I mean, she's been powerful for a long time, and her status and her power are definitely the far more interesting thing to her than her gender.
What does some chick like you know about cars? You know what, I don't appreciate that question. Any woman can know just as much about cars and be just as good a driver as any man.
This season is a little more comfortable for me because I feel like it's a little bit more about all of us. The character, Catherine, puts her head on the line the first episode of season 2 to the board and basically says, you know, give us 6 months to get the stock price up, save everybody's jobs, and if we can't, then I'll go. As a result, it's much more about an ensemble feeling of us against them, this kind of bunch of idiots trying to grapple their way out of public relations disaster after public relations disaster.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of mirrors like your like past as like SNL cast member, just like the ensemble nature.
I like being a part of a team.
Cool.
For sure.
That's fun. There was a great episode this season that dealt with like abortion rights and like also like a post-Dobbs decision. Like so it's like you're like, oh, we're like current day, you know.
Where the line between personal values and companies' values intersect. And I think the show does that incredibly well. We did an episode last year about making a politically correct commercial. Yes. We made, I think Justin Spitzer, our showrunner, he's very interested in the way sort of social topics dovetail the workplace. Yeah. And we're in a really unique moment in American culture where, you know, we're asking more of our institutions.
We did a roundup at Jezebel of all the like corporate, you know, like we love women, and then it's sort of like, are you giving maternity leave? Like,
right.
And there is like a dissonance, but there is like sort of this funny new requirement of companies to be like, we love women, and you're like, okay,
right?
What does that
like,
mean?
Tweet a rainbow square, right? Exactly.
Exactly. So like, I just think it's like a really fun show satirizing.
Yeah, it calls everybody out on that stuff. I think terrifically, and it was interesting because the reaction on Twitter to the episode was interesting to sort of watch the traffic, because people on both sides of the issue, and there are definitely, these are passionately held beliefs, there's no question, but the fact of the matter is the workplace will have everybody and all of those beliefs, and so the conversation was about how do you best handle that in a place where we all have to come and interact every day.
Yeah, and also what I was really struck by was the different generational responses
100%.
To being like, this is a workplace issue because it's a life issue, to being like, I clock out at 5, like I don't have to tell anyone what I think. And I was kind of wondering what, just because it also is like a multi-generational cast, like how filming that felt.
Awesome. It was so fun, to be honest, because it was getting right into the middle of it. I mean, it's fun to watch. It's fun to not actually be in the middle of those moments and to be satirizing them and to be calling out the worst possible way that each of these things can roll out. You know? And definitely multi-generational. And then of course, just in terms of gender, you know, the men putting together the Payne Women's Committee to make a decision about the post-Dobbs abortion policy for out-of-state abortion. So I mean, it was super interesting. And again, theoretically dangerous, but really not on its feet. I mean, that was what was so wild about it.
No, I mean, it was like the whole like, how do you help folks getting out-of-state abortions, like led by men, and then that was like a whole thing of like, yeah, like men with good intentions,
Yes.
which is like wonderful, but also like
not that helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks though, guys. You were on SNL at a time that had just like such an all-star cast, but also such an all-star cast of women.
For sure.
And like, did you realize that at the time? You're like, I'm with the funniest women. I mean, like,
I definitely did.
Molly Shannon, Tina Fey.
Yeah. And you just named the span. So when I came in, there were just 3 of us. It was Molly Shannon, Sherry O'Terry, and myself. By the time I left, it was, Tina, Maya, Amy, Rachel. Kristen Wiig came in the year I left. So it was a pretty like all-star situation. And I was well aware of the numbers growing while we were there because we were very outnumbered when I started. I started in 1996, and there were 3 of us, and there were 3 female writers, and that was it. And the rest of the staff was decidedly male. It was very succinctly straight male writers and a couple of gals.
Did you find that you partnered with the female writers?
Yeah, Paula Pell was my
she's
personal Sherpa through I mean many people's, to be honest, spiritual and otherwise, through the show. She shepherded me and kept me safe.